All right, EA Ermor, turn 73. Hopefully going to be taking a capital this turn, not Agartha. We are working on that. Ooh, a report from Helheim. That's not good. Oh, yeah, this is rough. So this is Murdering Winter, Murderous Winter. I don't actually remember the name of the spell offhand, but it's most effective in cold provinces, of course, since, Ill Winter is up. Most provinces are cold. And this is one of the later game spells that is really rough for human nations. So our army is going to be pretty messed up. We even lose a Lar, which is unfortunate. We will be able to forge some gear, and we'll forge gear for the remainder of this army, the important mages, to give them some cold resistance. But this is one of the main reasons that attacking into Niflheim was really, really going to suck. But of course, Russ has cold dominion, and clearly they have a good enough water mage to be casting this. So yeah, forgot about that. Shouldn't really change the outcome. We'll see. Maybe he also teleported some stuff in which case he could definitely defend that, because obviously we lost a lot of stuff there. Probably most of the augurs are dead. A lot of them were dying from disease anyway, so, maybe it's fine. But a sad end for that army. And then speaking of Niflheim, he claims that throne that he took from Russ. We are bringing in all of our various summons. This is to get rid of a disease on one of our more important casters, who of course is dying of old age because the world is dying. Somebody gets eaten by horrors. I think this is our guy that was summoning demons, or I guess more specifically devils. We got that item just off of an event a long time ago. This guy actually lasted significantly longer than I expected. I kind of just threw it on a regular commander because, I could see that it was going to horror mark them. But after I'd thrown it on a regular commander, I thought, well, maybe actually it would be better to try to slot it, on a chassis that could actually maybe survive, some assassination attempts. But, he got us quite a few devils, and, we lose the commander, but whatever. We lose the item, which of course is sad, but we got it for free. And then, we're trying to be annoying. A Bone Reader, right. I forgot that he has some of these independents. So we have our Vineman and our crossbow. It's not the one that Feeble Minds, so he can still, cast spells, but, he's halfway dead. Unfortunately, he's a human, not an undead unit. Air Shield, that's actually a really good choice. Good work, Dominion's AI, spellcasting AI. A lot of times, us Dominion players complain about it. Didn't help him there. It's only an 80% chance to block projectiles. Unfortunately, we don't get the kill, but it looks like the Bindmen are superior to corpse constructs, I guess. They were able to take out his 2 corpse construct bodyguards, and we get the kill. So that is very nice. We block some, movement for Russ, and hopefully that's very annoying. Speaking of annoying, Russ is doing the same stuff right back at us. So our Archbishop bailed on us, and he got seduced, and then our Lich managed to survive the seduction attempt, or resist it. But now it is an assassination battle. Now, he does have a decent amount of gear, but he's not really actually specifically set up to handle assassinations. Now, he's not going to care about the cold aura from the ice elemental, and he can make a lot of skeletons, but he can definitely get trampled. He's actually enlarged. We just had this. I think it's another item we got just from an event. Yeah, Disintegrate, also a good choice. It's going to be a little harder for this Ice Elemental to trample him, which would be the normal way that an Ice Elemental would be, most dangerous. Of course, this also has an Amulet of the Dead, which allows them to summon skeletons, even though normally they cannot. And this is starting to look a little more dangerous. Our Lich did manage to get invulnerability on himself. So I think, with the Lion Pelt, it doesn't actually show it there in the protection. For whatever reason, invulnerability, you have to click through. And so our protection against mundane attacks is 31, which is quite high. And these skeletons just have mundane weapons. So there's a good chance we come away with this. Yeah, he's also a death mage, so there's lots of spells that he can cast that are quite good against skeletons. It's really kind of embarrassing for this Lich, that he's being out-skeletoned here, by just an item. I think that items, they generate lower fatigue, so they do generate some fatigue, but I've heard that they don't generate as much fatigue as the actual spell casting. Ooh, and I think he just got himself with Wither Bones. So that's unfortunate. So we're gonna lose those items, but he is a Lich, right? So he's invulnerable, he's immortal, so he'll come back eventually. But yeah, that's not ideal when you know, wither bones yourself. So F- to you, Lich. Maybe you'll do better in your next life. And then, yeah, this looks like a serious battle here. So this is great news for us. Obviously, you know, we know about this army. We thought that this army was going to, you know, take out our capital and possibly remove us from the game. You know, Niflheim tends to not build very large armies. This player, you know, he prefers to go for kind of more of a heavy thug, super combatant sort of approach, which, you know, especially with Niflheim, is very workable. And it looks like, you know, this guy's been set up as a water caster. You know, he's got a lot of reinvigoration items and a lot of items to boost his water path levels. This guy's got a lot of kit. Lifelong protection, crown of enlargement, like, yeah, vine shield. So, you know, it looks like a mix of spellcasters and thugs on Niflheim's side. And of course, you know, we know all about Russ's army. So let's take a look. I saw someone was casting Quagmire. Not sure whose side it is. Russ has chosen to kind of use his corpse constructs to try to soak up some casting. You know, just has them in a long line out in front. They're probably on attack rear. There's like fog warriors. So let's see. Rigor Mortis is coming from Niflheim. And then Quagmire also coming from Niflheim. So fatigue play. This is basically the same plan, you know, that I was going to try for that army that is, you know, marching towards Agartha. And then Storm also coming from Niflheim. They're the ones with the Queen of Elemental, I don't know, Thunder. One of the Queens of Elemental Air. Fog Warriors coming up for Russ, and it looks like possibly he does not have a battlefield-wide protection, but, you know, he did manage to get Marble Warriors, at least, you know, on some of his units, which just provides Stone Skin, and it's a fairly wide protection buff, but not for the entire army, so there's probably at least a few things in here that didn't manage to get a protection buff, but I imagine most of his important units did. You know, he's pretty good about that. And then, you know, obviously, like, Niflheim is very heavily outnumbered, but a lot of this stuff is probably going to struggle a lot, like the Long Dead Horsemen, you know, probably don't matter too much. Let's go ahead and turn on some team-colored squares so we can actually tell, you know, who is on whose side, you know, who the imps belong to. And, you know, once Russ's sacreds get up, like, that is, you know, more likely going to be where the danger is coming from. But you can see from the blue bars here, there's definitely some fatigue starting to stack up, and I don't really see any relief. Okay, no, there is a relief from an Ivy King, and we do see an Ivy King over here on Niflheim's side, so it looks like Niflheim also put up relief, although that put the Ivy King to sleep. So it looks like there's no relief on Russ's side, which is definitely a spell that he has cast before and can cast. I thought he cast it with this army, but I could be wrong on that, so I'm not sure why that didn't go off. You know, maybe he just felt that it was unlikely that Niflheim, you know, was going to be making a fatigue play. Maybe this wasn't a battle he was expecting. You know, not a ton of battlefield wides coming out from Russ, so... And then Grip of Winter as well, also coming from Niflheim, which again is a fatigue play based around cold. I don't think it's going to matter too much here because Russ, you know, has, yes, some cold resistance on almost all their stuff. Like the undead tend not really to care about cold. And like now that Russ has actually gotten up, you know, some of this chaff is actually like kind of getting in the way of his sacreds, because it's going to be the sacreds that are more likely to deal damage, and Russ really kind of wants his sacreds to get in close and melee before they fall asleep. We don't see any Wailing Winds from either side, although I guess Niflheim, you know, can't natively cast that. Neither can Russ, I think, normally, although it was his hero, I believe, that was casting it before, and they may always be able to. A Howl coming up pretty late from, yeah, that same Ivy King, so must just because he fell asleep from casting the relief. And like, yeah, that would have been nicer earlier, but it still will, you know, distract Russ's units and, you know, give him more time for the fatigue to work. It does look like, you know, a few of the trolls here are routing off, and there definitely have been a decent number of casuals on Niflheim's side, and, you know, a lot of Niflheim's stuff is falling asleep. Relief is not a perfect counter to Rigor Mortis. Rigor Mortis will eventually overpower Relief, so it really kind of just gives you more time. You know, eventually everything that isn't immune to Rigor Mortis will fall asleep. Russ actually has more things that are completely immune to Rigor Mortis than Niflheim, so possibly that's why Russ didn't really feel the need to cast Relief, right? Because they're undead. I think eventually we'll come away with it. even though the undead aren't really going to do much to Niflheim's units, like while they're awake, once they fall asleep, and start taking critical hits more frequently, I suspect that they'll start to overpower them. But of course, Niflheim's Bless is decently strong. He's got regeneration on there and a big hit point pool to work through. Let's see, is there anything else? No, Quagmire, yeah, all the same spells. So yeah, it's looking like Russ is going to come away with this. He's definitely taken some losses, but I don't think that many skin shifters have died, which definitely makes me sad. The more dead skin shifters there are, the better. The wolves are back here like messing with casters, but he's done a really good job all game long of providing like a lot of bodyguards. He's been using his sacreds as bodyguards, which people have all kinds of opinions about bodyguards and etc. I've definitely heard people say you don't want to use your best units as bodyguards because obviously that reduces the strength of your army that's going to be going into combat against the enemy army, generally speaking. But on the other hand, your mages are really valuable, so providing them with your most powerful bodyguards possible, I don't know, I think there's an argument to be made for it. Like, certainly I think this army has enough killing power anyway. And yeah, there's a Nifl Jarl routing. It's not like a general route, so that guy just failed his morale check, so it's not impossible that Niflheim could come away with this, but yeah, there's another Scrotty routing off. I don't really see that happening. And yeah, I don't think this is actually going to cost Russ all that much in terms of like what really I mean, it's definitely going to burn away a lot of their chaff, and I don't know how easily they can replace that. Obviously we've been trying to pressure him. It's definitely has been fighting quite a bit, but it's the skin shifters that matter the most. And yeah, Niflheim does still have a lot of wolves stacking up, and of course wolves aren't very good, and especially because all of Russ's stuff has mist form on them from the fog warriors. It's very difficult for the wolves with their mundane bites to deal any damage to anybody who is just mist, but most of Russ's stuff is asleep, right? And the wolves, when they come in, when they appear just from the edges of the battlefield, from the woods, they have, no fatigue on them. So, they're able to still attack a lot of sleeping units. I was saying that, like, Niflheim's probably done, but that lifelong protection, right? Summoning all the imps, and he's got a guy that's summoning skeletons. Okay, yeah, another Jarl routed. Okay, armies of Niflheim are routed. For a second there, I was looking like, maybe he might be able to generate enough chaff to come away with it. So yeah, we probably hit turn timer. Yeah, there you go, battle round 100. So the attacker routes, I think, at like 90 or something, which is probably why Niflheim routed, because I believe they're the attacker here, although I could be wrong on that. And then eventually, yeah, Russ will route. Yeah, it looks like, okay. So Niflheim does route off. So a major battle, one that Niflheim loses, although, wow, okay, so he loses the Queen of Storms. That's pretty significant, right? That's 50 air gems to bring in, plus whatever gear she had, because very unlikely she was ungeared. Losing the 9 Great Eagles, like, not so bad. That's like, 7 air gems, something like that, thereabouts. The Trolls, of course, are almost an upside to be losing. And then he loses, 2 of his casters, who are decently expensive, but I believe these are recruit anywhere. They're not slow to recruit. So, it's actually, like, not that painful of a loss for Niflheim. And there are some losses for Russ, despite winning, right? So he loses this. This is his Holy 3 that's summonable, which is a pain, I'm sure, because that's what he's using to bless his sacreds, which is very important. He has backups, right? These guys are priests. Like, he has other priests, but having that Holy 3 for the divine blessing is really nice. I don't think these are like cripplingly expensive, so I'm sure you can just summon another one in, and they're quite fast since they can fly, so maybe not the end of the world. The chief, who cares? A Jade Sorceress, yeah, that's not so bad. And like, yeah, mage-wise, like, not too bad. He does lose one of his cap only, still has 6 of these suckers left, which we're not thrilled about. The Rusian Wizard, like, whatever. The Thunder Priest is a more painful loss, I suspect. 15 of his sacreds, which is relevant, not the kind of losses we were hoping for. And then, he loses his chaff, which I suspect is like not that big a deal. This is a lot of corpse constructs, definitely. And the Long Dead Horseman, this is like 40 death gems roughly. So significant losses, definitely, but in no means crippling. This could be coming back at us, in 2 or 3 turns, or maybe even less. So, you know, not quite the result we were hoping for. We lose some province that we didn't leave province defense in. That's always sad. And then we have, you know, quite a few raids against Russ. So yeah, I think this is some swarm raiding. And yeah, there isn't much PD here. So this is definitely going to be overkill. I think we've got 4 whole nature gems here, so we're going to be blasting out 4 swarms eventually. Like, yeah, you know, cavemen, they're not fantastic, but there was the possibility we were going to run into some of Russ's sacreds here, which is, you know, why we had so many swarms queued up. And then let's check out this raid. I really can't remember. Oh, right, this is our fire snakes and our magic duel fellow who can't magic duel. Yeah, and he just plonked down, you know, a good amount of barbarian PD. I think we'll come away with this. I don't know. You know, fire snakes, they definitely, like, yeah, they'll go down. Okay, nice. We managed to get body ethereal on a couple of fire snakes, which is quite good against barbarians with their mundane weapons. And like, yeah, we almost don't come away with it. In fact, we might still lose, because if this fire snake's route off, is that going to trigger a route for us? Armies of Russ are routed. Okay, it looks like we do come away with it. So, you know, that was close, but it works out. You know, we lose our fire snakes, but I mean, this is significant gold investment, right? So I don't know, I would say that's probably a wash, but we do come away with the province. So overall, I'm going to put that in the win column. It did say that it was a win for us, so, you know, Dominions agrees with me. There's another PD dump, it looks like, in an Amazon province. Yeah, and I forgot, yeah. These Jade Maidens, of course, are sacred, and, you know, you can get them with enough investment in your province defense, and you even get, like, an indie priest that comes with them. Luckily, she mostly missed with her blessing, yeah, and I think now she blessed herself. So these Jade Maidens are a lot less dangerous than they could be. Sadly, our fire snakes decided not to go for the sacreds, but, you know, we did. Gladiators they're pretty nasty, and we managed to get, you know, body ethereal and some luck on them. Like, yeah, we got dangerous stuff too. And, you know, fire snakes are dangerous, and Amazons, I find, are the troops, the infantry, are kind of underwhelming. They have, like, higher defense than normal, but kind of low strength, and yeah, and then the lone caster isn't really going to matter too much. So, you know, we do lose a good amount of snakes here. Actually, you know, I'm insulting these Amazons, but they whooped our fire snakes, and, like, yeah, they almost come away with it. And of course, we're going to lose basically all of these gladiators. Well, no, you know, they're going to retire, right? They did their damage, but it's okay. You know, we take the province, and again, right? So, you know, that was another one that's, like, probably a wash. Let's see, no, that was the previous one. Yeah, so we lose, you know, 9 of our fire snakes, but it's like we're getting enough fire gems every turn. This is like basically like 1 cast of fire snakes, so it's like roughly like 7 fire gems, a little more. And this is quite a lot of, you know, province defense, right? So that's a lot of gold that Russ is losing. So, you know, again, like maybe a bit of a wash in terms of casualties, but we do come away with the province. So this is working out certainly a lot better than some of our previous raiding attempts, right? And this is just our Equite, who managed to dodge a really nasty blizzard that probably killed a lot of their companions, compatriots. And, like, yeah, they're just some slingers. Hey, this is our this is our bishop, our traitorous bishop. He is dying of a disease anyway. Like, who cares? Oh, this gear. Maybe we'll pick it up. Maybe we'll pick up some. Oh, come on. No, kill him. Kill him. Get him. All right, we got him. And then he hits us with blood vengeance because, of course, now he carries Russ's bless. We, of course, do not get the seducer since, you know, she is stealthy. And there's a pretty good chance that our centurion that's leading that group is going to get seduced this turn. Like, certainly there'll be a seduction attempt, so we'll have to throw some bodyguards on him. Equite are pretty tough, so, you know, we'll see, and they're fast, so if enough of them show up, you know, we might actually be able to kill that seducer. But we do come away with this, and we only lose, you know, 1 Equite, and we kill our own bishop, and, you know, the slinger PD doesn't really matter, and then we get attacked in Helheim, so there you go. Russ is coming at us. This is probably so wow, these guys just move so fast. So yeah, we're probably going to lose this, right? Like, yeah, this is what's left of our army. Not a whole lot. God only knows, like, you know, where our communion's at, if we're even going to be able to get off any of our spells. We've definitely, like, had some guys get seduced, but hey, you know, there's a fire elemental. Russ gets up Howl, which will be a problem. Also a natural storm. And then, like, yeah. But you know what? I'm going to count this in the win column because this is the force that was going to resist us in Agartha. And, like, we're definitely, Fog Warriors. That's going to be a problem for us. To an extent, our Equite, right? We have a good amount of Equite here who have magic weapons on the Bless. We probably are not going to get anti-magic up. It was in there, but of course, this army's script is just completely messed up. So Russ is doing a really good job. We will burn gems at least. We're actually probably not going to get all that many kills here, unfortunately. But if we can even get just a few of his sacreds, these bears are so difficult to get rid of. But we're definitely getting rid of a few bears. We're making skeletons and stuff. This was a scary army, in its time. And this is just one of the problems, right? And once you get later in the game, with human HP units, and I didn't think about murdering Winter. Probably should have. Obviously, I was aware of it. That's why, I didn't want to attack Niflheim, but just wasn't really thinking about it with Russ. And then, he's doing a really good job. The larger on his sacreds also allows him to have better map move. Russ is a good player, doing a really good job. Yeah, we only kill 9 skin shifters. Oh, it's painful. But you know what? That's 9 skin shifters that we don't have. The rest of this stuff just doesn't matter. I mean, okay, that's not true, right? They cast Howl, and wizards always matter. And some of these are, honestly, most of these are not. He's got 2 of his cap onlys. The Thunder Priests matter, but the Rusian Wizard, they're actually not that impressive. So some of these wizards actually really don't matter all that much, right? And this is all he has up here, right? So okay, he's doing a really good job shuttling it around to hit us with a strategic nuke spell. Obviously, our losses are way more significant. We lose way more stuff here. This is still a really, really good engagement for Russ. Absolutely. And a very painful loss for us. But at the end of the day, we have another army coming in. He's down 9 more skin shifters. We can definitely beat the number of skin shifters that are left here, I think. And that said, of course, Niflheim's fatigue play didn't really work out, but we're also bringing a lot more stuff in our army as compared to what Niflheim had. So I don't know. We'll see. It's not a good thing, right? That was not a good moment for us, but I still have high hopes. And then, this is just Vanheim removing the province defense on top of Abyssia. And, I hopefully, okay, he's got fire resistance on the Bless. So, these Vanheers are just going to chop through these guys, really, really easily, pretty well. Although Abyssian infantry are kind of nasty. So if any regular units are going to kill Vanheers, they don't kill any Vanheers. So not too surprising. Vanheers are pretty scary, and it seems like a competent Bless. And then let's see, this is another one of our raids. Our raids, at least, have been doing really well this turn. Not expecting a lot of resistance here. This is one of our provinces that we were taking back, and we're just making some ethereal trolls. Ethereal trolls, they can be kind of scary to some really easy stuff. So we take that with no losses. So that definitely goes in the win column. And then I believe this is Jabalba assaulting the last Machakan fort, and they brought a ton of stuff. Machaka doesn't really have much in here. I think these guys are just, nature 1, no gems, probably unscripted, so, and then here comes all the bats. I don't think we really even need to watch this. Let's just see, so there were some casualties, right? There's a Balban warriors, but they're really cheap. Right, these are just his cheap bats that are naked and only 8 gold. So that's not that bad. He does lose a few of his sacreds, right? These are the bat sacreds, so that's a little more painful. 1 terracotta soldier, that's fine. Wasn't up against too much, and I believe that's gonna do it for Machaka. No, apparently they have something else somewhere we don't know about. And then Russ raids out against Niflheim. This is probably one of his. He's taking the fort. And then this is probably, I'm not sure, I would think this is the army from the battle that we just saw, but there don't seem to be enough sacreds here, so possibly he moved part of the army out and only stormed with a portion of it. But regardless, the fort is basically empty, so he's going to take that without losses. So that could be bad. Possibly that army is already headed back our way, towards our capital, but, we'll have a welcoming committee there for him, even having moved out a ton of our stuff. And of course, old age plagues us. The world is dying. We get attacked by somebody. All right, the horror cult reactivating. Once the horror cult is established, taken root, it's just forget it. You can't get rid of it, and horrors will keep attacking you, so unless it's a really valuable province, it's really not even worth holding. The only reason we took it is because, it was the only way through for us. So this definitely will be annoying, and you know what? It's possible. We'll just take a look. Hang on. There's another unexpected event. Okay, so we staked some traveling sorcerer. Sure, why not? It's possible our raiding group was here. Okay, no, thank heavens, they moved out. So, like, yeah, we're definitely going to lose our minimal PD to the horror, but that's fine. That can just be the horror's province, and then just some patrolling. So, yeah, I'll catch you guys after the jump. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. Yeah, I think with the benefit of hindsight, going for Helheim with that army definitely was a mistake. Did not work out for us. Was too slow, maybe shouldn't have taken this detour. Probably should have seen Murdering Winter coming. In my defense, like, Rust doesn't actually have any recruitable, like, water mages at all. I do think they get some with their summons, and of course they have kind of a rainbowy chassis. I can't remember offhand if it has water. Probably. And it's late enough in the game that player is good enough, they'll have wiggled their way into whatever magic they need, most likely. I am a little surprised they have the research. I thought it was Evocation. Yeah, so here it is. It's Evocation 7, which we actually don't have yet, so our research is behind Russ's, perhaps. They have decent stacks of Researcher Mages, but, they did take Drain Scales, so, and Evocation is not usually a priority. I mean, it really depends on the player and the nation. But I was figuring, that they would probably go for, like, Enchantment 8, which should give you Mass Regeneration, which I think would be really, really strong on those Sacreds. But yeah, I mean, maybe he already has that and just hasn't used it yet. He hasn't really needed it so far, so I mean, maybe it's just because they're a better player than I am, and they recognize that, like, they don't really need this research, and that Evocation 7 to kill my stack with Murdering Winter would be a better use of their research time. So wasn't really expecting it from Russ, both due to, like, research constraints and, like, mage pathing. Obviously, like, I knew about Murdering Winter. It was one of the main reasons that I didn't want to attack Niflheim, for whom it's pretty trivial. And again, just kind of highlights that, that type of army that I built, while very powerful in the mid game, it runs into problems in the late game. So I think that was kind of probably always going to be the fate of that army, unless we exchanged it, with his Skin Shifter group. And, in retrospect, definitely should have exchanged it with his Skin Shifters. But at the time, I felt that we had other options to deal, more efficient options to deal with the Skin Shifters. I was wrong on that count as well, but, hey, you play and you learn, so it's fine. Like I said, that army was... It gotten, like, past its sell-by date. Everybody was dying from disease anyway, so it is what it is. Some of it actually survived, right? So we had this retreat route because we did some raiding, so hooray, and, like, some of our casters survived. So we're just going to take what's left and send it against this fort. We're going to try to assassinate. There is a Thunder Priest here, so, like, hopefully there won't really be any defense. Obviously he has his Sacreds here that could move. These guys move so dang fast with larger that, like, they could potentially just move through our province. I don't really know. Like, yeah, we might fight a battle here, against his Skin Shifter stack. We actually are going to abandon one of our augurs, and we're going to use one of our items to give him the Astral Pearls to do some magic dueling, which is, like, kind of questionable. This is a pretty valuable item. We'll be handing it to him. Temporary Astral Pearls is very nice. But as I recall, like, yeah, this doesn't really have, like, a ton of astral support. I think it's just the one caster. Now, I mean, they are in Astral 2, right? So it's a lot less likely that we succeed with our Astral 1 in Magic Duel, but it's still possible. I forget the exact percent. It's probably, like, 20% that we win and maybe, like, 40% that both parties die. But it's, like, 40% chance to remove his only astral support for that stack would be really nice, because then it opens up the rest of the mages in that stack to getting Magic Dueled, or to getting Mind Hunted. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe worth it. We're going to send the rest. Like, it's mostly just a few Equite. I think, we just have them on Guard Commander. The snakes will go in. We're going to make some fire elementals, maybe? No, I don't. Yeah, there we go. One fire elemental from our bottle. Like, yeah, I mean, there's still some powerful mages here, so they're going to do some stuff. They should be able to take down Province Defense. It's possible, he uses these Skin Shifters to block that. That's fine. Like, we have some other raids going on, right? So we're going to raid here. We've seen this raiding group. And then, like, yeah, just mostly, like, snakes and, like, augurs. I'm going to raid here. We're actually recruiting some of our legionary infantry and a centurion to lead them. Because, yeah, I think, we need more raiding groups to, like, clean out some of this stuff. And, like, yeah, assuming we win, right, with this army on top of here and take Agartha, like, yeah, it'll open up a lot of raiding options for us. We obviously do need to be very careful. Like, this army could absolutely also get hit with Murdering Winter. So we're probably going to need to shed the augurs, right? Like, at this point, we can use the augurs defensively, in our own dominion where it's not ridiculously cold. And then we can also use them in a raiding capacity, because while Murdering Winter is very powerful, it is 40 water gems, pretty significant expenditure. He's not going to bother to do that, to kill like a small 3 augur raiding group. So this army's going to get a lot less powerful once it moves out of our territory. But, we have like some of these trolls, like they're not going to care too much about Murdering Winter. The dead don't care about Murdering Winter. So, we are going to have options, and we are starting to do a little bit of forging. Water is kind of one of our weaker paths. But we're forging these blue dragon scale mails, which, give good cold resistance. They are expensive, and, we don't have great water income. So maybe it'd be better to forge. There's like the rings of like frost protection that are cheaper, and I think actually give a little bit more frost protection. But the armor is nice, right? Because obviously it is armor, and we're probably going to be handing those out to our flame spirits who are susceptible to cold. In fact, they're actually, flame spirits are going to be, I thought it was only 5, but it's 10. So I think that armor is going to give us, let's take a look. I think it gives us 15, but that is still a little on the scary side. Yeah, so we'll have 5 cold resistance, but it's armor negating that damage. And flame spirits have slightly more than human HP, but not much more. So they may actually need like more kit. It's going to be kind of difficult to use our flame spirits offensively. In that vein, we found this enchanted glacier, right, where we can have a water mage enter to summon yetis. And I don't love these sites because they operate so slowly. But I think I probably should have jumped on this, like particularly once like Illwinter went up, because yetis don't care about the cold. They're okay troops. If you've seen some other playthroughs, I've tried to use them, and yeah, they're okay, but they won't be killed by Murdering Winter, which is a pretty big upside when the world is turning into an ice ball. So we're getting into it pretty darn late. Like, we're going to get like 7 Yetis. Like, really no more than like 20 Yetis probably before this game finishes. So like, is this even worth it at this point? I don't know. But we're going to get a few Yetis for free. For mage turns. And then in the north, right, we're kind of just going to hunker down. We could try to raid into this. Like, we lost the snakes, right? They retreated here. We're just going to abandon them. Like, maybe this group could raid, but we're not going to get through here. Like with these tiny little raiding groups, like we've seen that fail time and time again. So we're not going to bother trying that yet. We're going to dig in, all right? Because, we just saw Niflheim lose a decent amount of fairly powerful casters, to this big old stack of skin shifters and, mage support. And I think there's a pretty decent chance that this now like comes back after us. Like, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe Russ will decide that like, hey, they want to go for Niflheim's capital, or the throne that Niflheim just took from them, right? So, and obviously like Niflheim has other stuff, although, there was some back and forth in the game chat, and Russ kind of mentioned that like, he wasn't actually getting hit that hard by Niflheim, and I think Niflheim basically miscalculated and thought that, Russ would really focus his efforts like on finishing me off, right? And that Niflheim would be able to pick some stuff up, kind of for cheap or for free. And that's not what Russ did. Like, he responded immediately quite strongly. But maybe at this point, they might both kind of back off, right? And that'll give Russ like a chance, to come in and finish me off. And Niflheim will just, keep what he's gotten for now. So, there's a good chance that this comes at us and tries to take the capital. So, of course, we're recruiting more Equite of the Sacred Shroud. We're going to finish off our Elder Augur recruitment. We're forging a copper arm because I like wasting gems and just have silly plans for it. So, we'll talk about that if that army does come at us. And the other thing too, right, Russ may decide, just to go all in on Niflheim right now, because obviously Niflheim is still probably relatively distracted with Therados, just based on the fact that he isn't making a bunch of attacks against Russ. So maybe this is a decent time for Russ, to try to make some gains, or at least, repulse Niflheim completely and retake the throne. Relying on the fact that like I kind of need to take some time to rethink if I attack into Russ's territory, Murdering Winter, right? So Russ may feel like, okay, I have like 5 or 10 turns, before Ermor can really pull things together that's going to, be able to deal with Murdering Winter. And I think he probably would be right in that. Like I said, like most of what we have is going to do really poorly against Murdering Winter. I mean, we saw what happened on top of Helheim. So yeah, I don't know, what Russ is going to do and where they're going to go, but we're definitely not ready yet. So right now we're just focusing on the defensive, and if Russ continues to attack against Niflheim, like then we'll need to try to think about like, okay, how are we going to attack into Russ when we have to deal with this Murdering Winter aspect? And I think maybe one of the answers is like we're just really not going to focus on going. I mean, I would love to lock down the capital. Obviously the skin shifter production is a huge problem. But if we can take like chunks of this that are going to be okay against Murdering Winter, like there isn't, right, assuming we beat this other skin shifter stack up here, this whole thing that I've been talking about for so long now, I feel like, right, once we remove this, everything will open up and the war will go in our favor. But it's like, yeah, once we can get loose, right, and use this stack, to break down some of these more empty forts, and then we'll just like release like raiders, so it's like, oh yeah, okay, like we're gonna send augurs out, and like, yeah, sure, they could get Murdering Wintered, but it'll be small groups of them, and really try to work our way down and raid. Now, of course, he could block this like by moving against Niflheim. Like he'll be ready to block, that movement. So that may also be what he's thinking, right? Recapture some of this territory from Niflheim and then move up, to try to block me from taking Helheim and getting into his territory from the north. And then he can just, right? He's continuing to slam out skin shifters, so he'll have another army, in his capital that he can try to threaten my capital with. So, maybe that's where it goes. So I don't know. We'll see. Like we're still kind of like rethinking things. For now, we're gonna try to take Agartha because apparently that's like all that I do this game. So yeah, I think that more or less covers the situation. Yeah, our scouting for the wider world is a little on the lackluster side. We'll see what Xibalba tries to do. Like I said, they have kind of the same problems. Like Murdering Winter is going to be a pretty big problem for a lot of their stuff. They're cold-blooded, so the cold is even worse for them. Yeah, we've discussed. So not really sure what they're going to do. Like, I think, they kind of just have a hard road. They may try to go after, like, Femoria, simply because Femoria is, not one of the game leaders. So, we'll try to use that scout to at least keep something of an eye of what's going on over there. Research-wise, pretty low. We're I think we'll finish out Alt 9 before this game finishes. But, obviously, like, a lot of our mages are in use and in motion, and we've lost a ton of them. So, yeah, research is not going so fast. And, yeah, I think that covers turn 73.